Just going to back up a Linux-based cell phone, and you can use this for Linux-based internet tablets or internet cell phones. This is a particular model, a Nokia N900, and there's a built-in backup tool. Pretty much uses an archiver, like the command line version of tar, but it doesn't back up the complete system. It just backs up the contact settings and a list of your applications, which you can then later re-download from the repositories. So I'll create a new backup. I'm going to open the keyboard, and you usually might call it the date or something. I'm just going to call this backup 1. Proceed. Look at the options. Communications and calendar, bookmark settings, application list. I want to back up everything. Doesn't back up the whole system. So if I were away from internet access, or I wanted to quickly or automatically restore something, this might not be the best option. But as far as being easy to use and convenient, it's a very nice backup utility. Well, the file size for this backup may only be between 3 and 10 megabytes. If you completely back up your system like we're going to, your file size could be 450, 500 or more megabytes. This won't take long, but doing the compressed tar archive could take an hour or longer, depending on whether or not you're overclocking. Okay, now our backup is complete, and you can see the file size is about 3 megabytes. So with that done, you can browse for where your backups are. On this model, the Nokia, there's 32 gigabytes of internal storage, and I have a 16 gigabyte micro SD card. So there's a total of 48 gigabytes that I could possibly back up here. In this case, I'm not going to back up the 48 gigabytes, the data, the MP3s, the videos, all of that. I just want to back up the operating system files. So I'm going to exclude the data partition, and I'm going to exclude the micro SD card in the backup. I'm going to overclock my CPU a little bit. So let me go over and find nice little GUI utility from the Memo community. And right now my processor speed's running at 600 megahertz. I'm just going to jump up to about 950. I don't really want to go higher than that. Again, I'm just a little afraid or paranoid of heat damage. But there. And I'm running at 950 megahertz there. Okay. A command prompt here, and I want to gain root privileges. I'm going to type sudo gain root, and that gains me root privileges. And right now I'm on the phone's keyboard. And the command that I want to use, first off, I would recommend switching to the root directory, and you can do that just with a CD and a /. And notice in the root directory, here's my file system on the phone. Things that I would want to back up, but I'm going to use the command tar, which is a Linux archiving tool, and I want to add a dash. And I'm going to add some command line options, C, V, P, Z, F. And I'll go over each of these options briefly. C means create a new tar archive. V means do it in verbose mode, so give me lots of feedback and display that on the console. P means preserve the file's permissions. Again, if you make a backup, you want to make sure you preserve all the permissions on those files, the group, the owner. You don't have to chown or chmod those files later. Z means create a compressed archive, because it's going to be a pretty large backup. It could take, like I said, over an hour if you have a lot of apps installed on your phone or a lot of data. And then the last option, F, means a file name. So I'm going to tell it first, in this list of arguments, where to put the backup or the archive file. And on this phone, like as is common to a lot of Linux systems, in Ubuntu and Fedora, it mounts things like removable media, CD-ROMs, cards to a folder called media. And my SD card, my micro SD card, is in a subdirectory called MMC1. And what I want to call it is full backup. And then give it the extension tar, since it's an archive, and GZ, since it will be compressed or zipped up. That's the full name of the archive, and I want to use the exclude command because I don't want it to include itself in the backup. That would be, wasting file space there. So in order to not include the file, and I want to go ahead and use exclude, and let me tell it what to exclude. And in this case, I want it to exclude media MMC1, and I would wrap that in quotes, and I just want to tell it to back up everything, so I'm going to have it include the root directory, and then I'll hit enter, and now it's going to start backing everything up. And I'll skip ahead because this could take, like I said, a very long time, so we'll skip ahead to the end. Okay, we've skipped ahead, and I finally completed making my tar archive, and I'm just going to zoom out here. Let's take a look at the file size now. Remember, the first one was 3 meg. I'm going to go to my SD card, and notice my full backup here is 329.5 megabytes. So, quite a good deal larger. But this way I have a compressed, complete backup of my file system. And let me go back here. And okay, if I wanted to restore, the command to restore would again be tar. Let's say that something happened, and for some reason my phone crashed and I wanted to do a restore without having to re-download all my apps and go from the repository. I would just want to type in the command tar space, and again I need to use some command line options as I did to make the backup, but this time to restore it I'll use a few different options. So I'm going to say X V P Z F, and the X is for extract, the V is for verbose, the P is for the file permissions, the Z means to decompress the file, as I'm de-archiving it or extracting it, and F would stand for the file name. And I just need to give it the absolute full system path to the file. So again, on this system and many other Linux systems, that would be media MMC1, and using the phone keyboard here, so it's a little slow. And the name of my backup file, which was full backup.tar for the archive.gz, since it's compressed. And the other option I would want to use, there's just one more, and that's this capital C. So I'm going to do dash, and capital C and lowercase c are different, so make sure it's capital C, but that stands for, that means change to the specified directory before you extract the archive. And then the last argument I want to pass in is root. So I'm just saying, hey, change to the root directory, and when you change to the root directory, take this archive, decompress it, and begin to extract it, and set up all of the permissions back into that folder. And so, from the command prompt, again, you want to make sure you have root privileges, so sudo gain root. But from the command prompt, or that would allow you to restore your phone's files and operating system back to the way it was when you made the archive or the backup.